Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for today, and this is going to be everything you need to know about pets, henchmen, sidekicks in DC Universe Online. That's going to be including the tier system, the non-tier system, sidekicks, henchmen tested on single target for boss fights, and for AoE for hallway ads or anything else. I will say as a disclaimer, I'm looking strictly at the performance of a pet. That's why it's going to be all spreadsheet ads, all going to be numbers, parsers. I will detail a little bit kind of tips and tricks and show that, but primarily I only care about the performance of a pet when I use it. If a Brainiac drone or like a vampire bat is not going to fit my style as a character or my cosplay build or anything like that, then that doesn't concern me. If it does concern you, by all means, use whichever pet you like. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I still see a lot of people run the Man-Bat Commandos, and those have been statistically always the worst henchmen that the game's ever had, or one of the worst ones. But by all means, if they prefer the Man-Bats, then that's their prerogative. But in terms of this video, I want to show you the performance so you can make a properly informed decision. So what we know right now, we'll touch on that first. This is the tier system. So this recently came out. So that's why all the icons are going to be different. You have tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Now in the future, you will be able to upgrade different pets using a source marks vendor. That's TBD. Sharon is designing that. Obviously, I'll cover that once there's more information about it. But that does allow you to upgrade pets, not in the tier system. So you can upgrade pets just without having to get the drop. So it means, like, say you don't want to run SM to get this green crystal turret or the freeze turret, etc. You can upgrade a pet to the tier 3 in terms of results without having to get that specific pet. So that kind of upgrade system is TBD. So that's why I'm not going to touch too much on it. But what this is that you have a tier system in terms of when it drops. So you have the 10-second turret feats, sorry, not feats, the turret pets. You have the tier 2 and tier 3. So how this is separated, that the tier 1 pets, these are the ones that are simplest to get. Vampire Bat was given for free. You can get Mother Box and Father Box on the vendors. Brainiac Drone was on seasonal vendors. Snake Shirt, same thing. So these are all the ones that drop either super in regular content, given for free, or off vendors. So anyone can get a tier 1 pet. Tier 2, these ones drop in different types of context. So for example, Nightmare Bat dropped in, or Nightmare Bat tier 2, because there's 3 tiers of Nightmare Bat, that dropped in certain content. Dark Contract Bat drops in the first boss of an alert. Same thing with Brainiac Turret drops in certain content. And the tier 3 ones, these are the highest ones. So the only thing that separates the tiers is just the damage. There is the tier 3 pets are supposed to be immune from crowd control. I mean, yes, it's going to be hit or miss if you actually see that. In terms of they have a little bit more survivability, but usually if there's a mechanic that's going to kill pets, it's going to kill them regardless. I mean, you can see that from how many times if there's some robot sidekick, especially in these newer elite raids. So if anything is going to kill a sidekick, it's going to end up killing one of these pets anyway. So and then these ones, same thing. So most of the tier 3 ones are SM trinkets, but we do have Nightmare Bat. You can get that one. You could get the Brainiac Turret tier 3. So that's why each DLC now, if a pet only drops an elite, like for example the tier 3 version of Nightmare Bat and Brainiac Turret, then you can still get it instead of being locked behind SM. So I have covered this. I'm not going to spend too much time on the tier system because I've covered this in a previous video, but this is going to turn the damage, and I'll relate back to it. So same thing for single target. So as you can see, they're very similar. So even if you didn't want to use, like, say, Nightmare Bat, Shadow Bat, Source Lightning, and Freeze Drone, I mean, there's only like 10k difference between all of them. Same thing with the tier 1s, 460, 462, 457, 455. So not giant gaps. They're all within like 10% of each other. Same thing for AoE. 718, 728, 730, 732. Not giant differences between them. And I will say how I have these laid out to you. So these turret pets, these ones aren't affected by Source Shard if you have that artifact that buffs pet damage. So if it's an anti-mana turret, if I have ST in 10 seconds, that means that it's going to summon for 10 seconds and do this amount of damage. That's why it has 8 large hits. Where another trinket, like say Dark Contract Bat, their damage is spread out over an entire period. These are 60-second parsers. I've done 5 of them at all the same CR. This is on 3 targets, for example. So that means all the damage done by these turrets, that's why it's less, about 100k less, but that's done in 10 seconds as opposed to 60 seconds. So what that left is, when you have the tier system came out, you had a series of pets that don't get upgraded anymore. These are the older ones. So the boos, some of the seasonal ones like the blossoming spores, the Eerie Jacks from the Halloween, the boos, collector's edition bat drone, the summer event trinket, LexCorp trinket, all the Tombot, 25th century community. These are the 5% health trinkets. So all these ones aren't in the tier system anymore. So what that means is that these pets will no longer be upgraded whatsoever in terms of how their damage increases. So the only thing that's going to impact damage now is your CR. So the four utility belts is still, as you see, compare that to the AoE on 60 seconds. If we go back to the tier system, all these ones are about 700k. And the Boo, this is the 4 times Boo utility belt. That's still going to be 1.1 mil. So obviously that's still going to be a good example, but it does drop your CR. That's why I see a lot of people summon it before boss fights and switch armories. And then the 3 Boo is 906. And then the summer event trinket. This is where I'm going to insert a video in the top right hand corner here. Would you see that 744? You think, okay, that's better than Nightmare Bat and Shadow Bat and Source Lightning Eagle. However, there was since all the tier system pets are based off the same kind of design, they all have beams. So if a pet has a beam, like it fires out like the Nightmare Bat beam, or the if you go back to it here, Freeze Drone, they have like those little snowballs that come out. So anything like that can penetrate NPCs. What I mean by that is they can go through the target in front of it and then hit the target behind, because they have damage penetration. The Summer Event Trinket does not have that because it's a different setup. So that means you do get 744k on a set 3 targets, but with these ones you have the potential to get a lot more. It just depends on your positioning. So I do show that in the video here. So if you want to watch that, I'll link it in the description as well, if you know the tips and tricks in your positioning. But that's why, despite these pets being technically lower on a controlled environment like the sparring targets, their damage potential is much, much higher because of that beam penetration, which you don't have on any of the non-tier pets. And that's where the Robot Sidekick fits. Grim's on there as well, the Quizlet base damage. The Quizlet damage here does not include you using powers, that's just the base damage of Quizlet. Same thing for boss fights. You're still looking at Boo Utility Belt, then basically Robot Sidekick. Melee, then you're looking at the Summer Event Trinket, LexCorp, Bat Drone. So that is going to be the non-tier pets. But you can see here drastically lower. I mean, you got a couple ones here at 581, 474 with the Boo Trinkets, and it drops down to 342. If you go to the tier system ones, there's a bunch, even tier 1. So the tier 1 pets, these are pets that you're going to find anywhere. They're available to all players. And then even a tier 1 pet is going to be better than almost a Boo. So Boo Utility Belt's 581. If we go back to the single target one. So 4 times Boo Utility Belt is barely better than a Nightmare Bat at tier 3. And that's 4 Boos on single target. So once you get some higher CR, that 499 is going to close the gap of the tier system where the Boo ones won't, for at least for single target. So that's why pretty much if you're not using a tier system pet for a single target, you're losing massive damage. So if you have a tiny star or really fits your style, or the Heartbreak Trinkets or Heartthrob or any of the Boo Trinkets, I mean, you certainly can, but you're losing massive damage by comparison on single target. So going over to the sidekicks. Sidekicks, once again, you're not going to be using that in typical content. This is going to be more for solo, but this kind of shows a nice breakdown. So the reason why you see such separation, I will show that momentarily with this henchman, is that different henchmen have different weapon attacks. So when you have say dual pistols, all they're going to do is just spam the dual pistol attack full auto, and that's really low damage. Same thing with shield. They're just going to do like the shield tap combos, like the 3 or 4 tap ones. Bow is just going to do, they don't even do the bow slam one. They just do the range like taps with bow. So these are really low damage weapons. But then when you get to the higher ones, you get staff, which has martial flurry, or is it called martial flurry? Whichever. It's like the 4 tap staff slam one, and the one that when the staff spins around you. I'm not too sure what the weapon combos are called exactly off the top of my head, but they have those weapon combos themselves hit a lot harder. Same with brawling. And rifle obviously is the highest because it's got flamethrower, it's got mortar. So when we jump over the henchman here, so we have weapons like sewer. the sewer henchmen are rifle based. That's why you can see these high hit counters. 298 hits, 316 hits, 313 hits. So that's why they do such well in AoE damage, because they're rifle based. Now, Sharon has started to release more themed henchmen. Like, that's why like every single update with like the creepy critters that came with Halloween, Paradox Reapers, Freeze Goons was SM, Water Goons and Paradox Reapers was with the anniversary event. Cersei BC Morphs, the Trench Creatures just came out now. They're summer seasonal. So these Trench Creatures are out currently on live. So these ones are a little bit different. They incorporate power attacks and weapons. So the older henchmen here, that's why they're such like drastically low and all but the same by comparison. These ones are specifically just weapon based. So they don't have basically large power attacks. Where here, like for example, like where am I looking at here? Paradox Hulks, Cersei Beastimorphs, and Trench Creatures, they all do Sonic Shout, which is a massive AoE attack. The only difference is, at least by testing, Paradox Hulks and Cersei Beastimorphs don't do them that often. They're not as consistent with it, where Trench Creatures always were consistent. So that's why you're getting massive damage increase, like double to triple sometimes, over 306,000 to some of these 150s, even though they're the same CR. It's just because of the extra power attacks. Same thing with Water Golems. Water Golems was previously the highest single target, highest 3 target, but you'll see them up there on single target, because they're doing Torrent, which is the water finisher. So that's why nowadays you want to definitely pick yourself up a themed henchman, because they're just going to be doing more damage regardless. So definitely look at those Trenchmen. These are going to be best on AoE. Single target boss fights, same thing like I said. You got a whole bunch of old henchmen that are just weapon based. Then we got some of the ones with theme power. So Water Golems, like I said, they eke out on single targets or above the rest, because they're doing that Torrent attack, which is higher single target damage. Freeze Goons was at SM. Trench Creatures right again, top 3. So it was number 1 on AoE, top 3 on single target. Creepy Critters was Halloween, just because their powers and their weapons they use. Paradox Reapers, Nature Spirit Henchmen, that was the spring seasonal. Sewer Backup is the best layer trinket, or layer henchman. So that's what falls into there. So lots of testing, countless hours doing this, but I want to get you guys the results so you can make informed decisions about it. If you're looking for a closer look at this Excel doc, I have it in my Discord, which will be in the description as well, under the channel Pet Trinket Summary. And then I'll also be making an official post on the DCUO forums and Oracle's database for a pet damage guide as well. This is going to be something that's going to be always being updated, because Sharon likes to have as many henchmen as possible. Right now, what we have? We are at 45 henchmen. And each and every update, there seems to be new henchmen sneaking in. I don't really think we need 45 henchmen, but, c'est la vie. And then in terms of the tier system, each and every DLC episode going forward, we're going to have at least 2 or 3 new pets. This DLC was Nightmare Bat and Brainiac Turret. So going forward, even the tier system itself is going to be increasing. So stay tuned, and I will always keep you updated for that. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I helped out.